And what I'm working on is to see if we can get some challengers to these Rhino Republicans. You know, I want the seat to stay Republican, but maybe Jimenez, Maria Elvira, Mario Diaz-Balart. But I think those are important to make sure we keep it up. I think the most important elections are not the general election, it's the primaries. And the real fight is between the MAGA Republicans and the Rhino Republicans. So I would say, and then in the state legislature, there's going to be some fights. George Navarrini up in Broward County, 103. That's important. Of course, Lynn Sue is running for city commission. So that's very important. All right?
Okay. Yes, please. Yes. Leave them there. What's the price? Okay. Okay, so our next speaker is Karina Nitzman. Karina was born in Odessa, Ukraine, and holds a Master of Science in Engineering from John Haskell University and a Bachelor of Science in Economics from Towson University. Karina is the current Director of Government Relations for the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation in DC, and she leads the Victims of Communism engagement with U.S. federal and state policymakers, embassies, and advocacy initiative with human rights, allies, and captive nations constituents. Karina is going to tell us about the Victims of Communism Memorial and the role in educating and bringing awareness to the public in what I believe is the most important matter of the 20th and 21st century. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. So I feel like I'm actually kind of responsible for all of the stories here because I was actually born in Soviet Ukraine, where, yes, most of you know, so the communism started under Lenin's regime, and unfortunately has spread across the entire world. And everyone thinks that if they can just implement it correctly, it will be different. And it's not. And I've lived under it. I was fortunate that after the wall fell, my mother decided that it was time for us to leave. And I do remember a little anecdote back in my first grade math class. Um, you have 5 loaves of bread, 2 greedy Americans take 1 loaf each. How many are you left with? I was like, well, they take it all. They're greedy Americans. So when my mom told me that we were immigrating to the US, I was like, why in the world would we go to America where they hate us? And that was something that I was indoctrinated with at such a young age, believing that Americans were bad. They were capitalist pigs. They did not want anyone to be a community. They didn't like teamwork. They were just in it for themselves. So when I did come to America, we moved to Baltimore City. I was 8 years old. Mind you, I did not speak English. We grew up in low-income housing on food stamps. It was my single mother and my 2 elderly grandparents. My mother was working 2 jobs, going to school in the evening, to the community college, learning English, and also advancing her career because she was a tailor during the day and she was also a caregiver, because that's the only jobs that she could get in America without having a professional training that was accredited here. So I was raised by my grandparents and I was kind of off on my own. And I remember the first day of school, and every time I say the Pledge of Allegiance, it takes me back because, again, did not speak English. And my second grade class, everyone around me stood up, put their hand on their heart, and began to recite it. And I had no idea what it was, but I knew it was something that I wanted to be a part of. I knew that that was America. So fast forward, when I turned 18, I decided to become an American by choice. So I applied for natural citizenship. I was sworn in, and I recited the most meaningful pledge of allegiance of my life. And it was the proudest day of my life, and I still remember it, and I still get chills every time I recite the Pledge of Allegiance. So all of that to say is, you can come back from communism, and that was America. And as everyone up here said before, we need to protect America. We need to protect the beacon on the hill. We need to protect the freedoms, the freedom of opportunity, the freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And the fact that there's people in this country that want to take that away from us is sickening, because that's what America was founded on. That's why millions of people flee to America. They don't leave America. That's why we have people coming over the border in troves. Not because they're coming to something bad, but because they see that beacon of hope. And we have to remember that. And we have to keep fighting for it. So I fought for it. My mother fought for it. I tried fighting for it last year when I ran for Congress. Obviously not successful, but I was also in a D+26 district. So, Virginia. So it kind of tells you the mindset, right? Which communism should not be a partisan issue. And it has become that. And you have the socialist Democrats who are proponents of this regime, and they think it's the greatest regime in the world. They're teaching this in the school systems. Virginia, unfortunately, has become very famous in the US because of our schools, because of the indoctrination, because of the critical race theory, because of parents being called domestic terrorists. And luckily, we have Governor Youngkin, who has created an environment where parents are now part of their child's education. They have full transparency into what's happening in the classroom and also what their children are being taught. And that's something that we're at Victims of Communism Museum are doing as well, is injecting or providing comparative ideologies into the K through 12 curriculum across the country. Because right now, there's no teaching of what a communist regime really does. There's no teaching of how bad it is, the horrors of it. And so the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation, we strive to educate the public on the horrors of communism. And part of that is through the curriculum. We've seen how the far left has taken on the school board elections, and how every single election you see across the country, it starts with school board. It doesn't start with mayor. It doesn't start with congressperson. It doesn't start with anyone above the school board. And why is that? Because children are the most malleable individuals in a country. And as soon as you can change their mind, their thought process, and indoctrinate them, that's what's going to be the future of the country. And that's what's happening right now. And that's what we're currently fighting at our foundation. So thank you, Florida, for being an amazing partner. Governor DeSantis did sign the Victims of Communism teaching into the K through 12 curriculum. It's being implemented. We have congressional representatives. Maria Salazar has actually just introduced a bill in Congress called the Crucial Teaching Communism Act, which is gaining support very quickly. We hope that it will pass once all of this chaos is over with this year. And then there's a lot of members that truly, truly want to see a democracy, a democratic America continue. So I would urge you to visit victimsofcommunism.org. If you're in the DC area, please come visit our museum. We're 2 blocks from the White House. Easy stopover. And we can't do this without donations. We just can't. And everything that we're doing is from the kind hearts of people that want to fight communism. People who have relatives, people who have stories to tell, people who have escaped communist regimes, people who know others who've escaped it. And it's so important that those people's stories are told, like we're doing today. We have witness projects. We have education curriculum. We have a ton of resources on our website that you can go to and just download whatever it is that you need. And if you have people that you know who would be great candidates for Witness Project, we started our documentary series to tell the stories and to make those available to the public, as well as we've started a podcast. So we have a lot of great initiatives. And I very much urge you to visit us either online or in DC. And thank you again for having me.
Question. Yes. Are you going to run for Congress again?
I'm exploring my options. Nothing's off the table. Maybe Florida is the next one.
There you go.
I might have a better chance.
Okay, I think two of our other speakers couldn't find parking. Is that what happened? How about Saraya? Saraya?
She's not very good. She's
Oh.
on her way. But,
Oh my goodness. Oh my
do you
goodness.
want to talk about what Nancy is doing?
Good.
No, I mean, that would be great.
Okay, so, well, I can tell you a little bit about my family story. Well, I think that with all of the other protests going on, maybe scare some people, but some people just couldn't find parking. So,
I think scaring them is also another one.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I think you all know me, but for those who maybe don't, okay? So I founded the Federated Republican Movement of Lensu about 2 years ago, and we started also our first rally last year. This is our second rally, and we will continue to have one every year because we truly need to educate and to bring awareness uh, about the most evil ideology that is responsible for more human death than all wars, pandemics, or natural disasters combined. So I was born and raised in Nicaragua and came to the US in December of 1972 just to obtain a college education. But after I married my husband, I realized, what did I do? I'm here to stay. I'm not going back. So I started to say, if this is going to be my country, I have to know everything about how it works, the history. So I began to educate myself. And very easy when you do your research and your homework, very easy you realize, that to register Democrat, only the people who don't know history do that. I mean, otherwise, it's shameful. So I've been a Republican from day one, my entire life. So my husband and I moved here to South Beach in 1999, and I began my career in real estate the next year. Quickly, I got to the top, and I stayed there for the last 22 years. I So I became what they call Legend Society in 2005 and a master broker in 2006. And I was actually named also the Miami Beach Hispanic Citizen of the Year in 2009. So my parents, the reason that I'm so passionate about this issue, because as most people don't know, the Nicaraguan people have been terribly affected and suffer by the same ideologies, Marxist, socialist, and collectivism. And when my mom was 52 years old and my dad was 56, the Marxist Sandinistas froze all their bank accounts and confiscated all of their properties. My parents were not wealthy, were middle class. They worked all their life and save for their retirement. And as they were getting ready to retire, everything was taken away from them, and they threw my father in jail. So I will never forget or forgive, and I will try to bring awareness on this issue and to educate the people until the day I die, and maybe beyond, okay? It is another life. So, and now, with everything that we see happening in this country, especially what they've been trying to do to President Trump, all I can say, when I watched that impeachment, I was watching and crying like inconsolable, because I couldn't believe that it was happening in this country. And I thought to myself, this is worse that my father kangaroo court in Nicaragua, because my father was nobody. But here they're doing it to the president of the United States. So we have to all give all our effort, money, time, because there's no other place to go. We're going to fight here. So it's either going to be free or die. So we are at the end. Okay, well, listen, thank you for coming. And she's going to be here?
Yeah, she's already parked. She's walking.
Oh, okay. Okay, one of the speakers will be here. I'll let Len say a few words. Come on. Len is one of our members, and she's going to be running North Miami, so we need to get a troop there to go help her win that district.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, wow. That's a warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming today. Inez and I founded the Federated Republican Women of Miami Beach in hopes that we could turn most of this area red. And the reason why we wanted to turn it red is because we know that the values that the people who live in this area that they hold are conservative values. They just don't know. And we need to get that word out. We need to share with them. Like the victims of communism is one way, one vehicle that I think every single American agrees that we do not want to be part of the communist regime. Any communist regime. I don't care, it doesn't have to look like Cuba's. It doesn't have to look like the Lenins. It doesn't have to look like Stalin. It doesn't have to look like Pol Pot. But it looks like what it is now, and we are set on a path. And if we don't get together and interfere, interrupt with our vote, with our voice, getting together and really, really voicing what is happening in this country right now. Inez said it very well. It's happening to a former president of the United States. And now I have a more important and interesting guest to introduce to you. Before I finish my wonderfully prepared speech, I'd like to invite, she is a political prisoner survived prison in Venezuela. She was beaten, and today she actually started a nonprofit organization called Guardians of Human Rights. And she's here with us today after being a treacherous event. The most difficult thing right now is looking for parking in Miami Beach. Okay, so please put your hands together for Zarai Maza.
Thank you, everybody. It is wonderful that we are today. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, here already. Okay. So it is wonderful that we are here today, in this meeting, just talking in strength in democracy as the founder fathers create this amazing and beautiful country. I have several words to say regarding the communism. The communism is a disease that infects any society to which it is exposed. More than 100 million victims have been killed by communism regimes from 1971 to 1991, plus this century. Venezuela had one of the highest standards of living, ranking number 4 in the world, and today it is the second of the last. Only North Korea is worse. Before, Venezuelans enjoyed freedom and economic prosperity. Today they are oppressed and lack of basic necessities. This is the reality of communism, a deceptive ideology stained with the blood of innocents. I have lived through this nightmare. As a human rights advocate for over 3 years, I faced relentless persecution in Venezuela. I survived 3 assassination attempts. The last one left me paralyzed, motionless, rending my body just in bed. It's always difficult to talk about this, so I'm sorry to take a little time. Then I came to the United States, a nation that stands as a beacon of freedom and bravery. In this land of the free, I found refuge and the strength to continue my fight to freedom. I founded Guardians of Human Rights in 2019, just after getting back in good shape. We, the Guardians of Human Rights, stand as living proof of the freedom and rights that the United States embodies. We are committed to upholding these values, ensuring that every individual in every corner of the world can live without fear and bask in the radiant light of liberty. Together we strive for a future where the horrors of oppression are nothing but a distant memory and the triumph of freedom prevails for all. Thank you. By the way, so we get these booklets that are the simplified version of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and we always pass them out as a, I'm sorry, yes? Oh, I'm sorry.
This doesn't work. This is based on the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. And I don't have my blazer because it's too hot, but I always carry my Declaration of Independence and Constitution. That works.
Yes, of course. And basically, nobody in the whole world has something that the United States has. That's why the only thing that we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that if you study it, you can see the right to a property, the right to the copyright. So, and actually, I'm sorry, sir, but is this the second time that you, after my speech, the second time in my whole life that you, after my speech, you are rude with me? And I'm sorry to tell you, but this is the second time.
I'm just telling you, this is
You can. Sir. And yes, you grew, okay. And were you in prison? I got you. But in the United States, we have everything outside. Nobody, nobody recognized the Constitution of the United States. We just have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And that's the only thing that we have outside the United States. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. What gave you your strength, your inner strength to go through all that you
That everything that I fought for was nothing. But in a moment, I felt like a warm hug of my mom. that is here today. I get my parents out of the hell of Venezuela. And in that moment, I understood that I needed to continue fighting for, because my people was there. So with the help of people that I work with on the United for Human Rights, like to this nightmare that empower myself to continue working for them, because there is a lot of people that doesn't have any voice to say something, to speak out, to stand up. And that's my only, um, the fire that burned my purpose to continue working on this. Thank you.
Wow, I can't imagine that. So to wrap up today, I think, first of all, I want to thank you for sitting through our background music from the helicopter, and also our background music from all the bars, and still listening to the key and the most important message, which is like, we do not stand for communism. Not in this country, not this decade, and not as long as I will live, and I hope not as long as you will live. I'm remembering the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, says, as everybody knows, freedom is only but a generation away from extinction. We don't pass it through our bloodstream to our children. We must fight for it, protect it, and pass it on to our children, and for them to do the same. So this is our fight in this generation. I'm hoping that you will also fight on your own, in your neighborhood, in your communities, to make sure that everybody is present to the crimes of communism. 20 years, 100 million lives, more than 100 million lives. That's a lot of lives for a small elite to actually be able to crush their dissidents and make sure that they stay in power. We can't let that happen. We can't let that happen in this country, right? And finally, I think this is a new quote I got from Ronald Reagan, even though he's been gone for a couple of years now. It says, if we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. America is still the freest country in this world. I myself am from Thailand. We're not raised to be the people who actually vote. We're not we the people. We are subjects of the king. We are supposed to be born and reborn as subjects of the king. That is not freedom. What we have here is true freedom. As long as we exercise our right to vote, we will continue to have that freedom. So don't be silent. Don't be hesitant. We have to all get to the polls. We have to all let everybody know what the dangers of communism is. And with that, we are ready to walk. Thank you so much for attending today. Both Inez and I appreciate you so much for being here, putting up with the sun, putting up with our background music, and we really appreciate you so much. All right, if you're ready to leave, you could depart and safe travels. But if you would love to join us, we have a megaphone. We have some signs that you can take, and we can walk down Ocean Drive. So that the great thing about this neighborhood is it's all tourists, right? So when they see Miami Beach doing this, it's not just going to stay in Miami Beach. It's going to go everywhere. So great opportunity for some advertisements here. So before you go, just one last message. I think that we have. Please check out all three of our organizations. right? So ours is the Federated Republican Women of Miami Beach. That's FRWOMB.org. That one, we also have a donation button. Everything you see here, the chairs you're sitting on, the flags, all of this was personally funded by Inez. And, you know, some of our membership fees, which is very minimal. If you'd like to support us in having this message go out far and wide, if you want us to continue to do this every year and make people aware of the victims of communism and not to become victims of communism, please donate to our cause. We also have the Guardians of Human Rights, which is gohumanrights.com. Please check out her website and see how that goes, and see how you know, how much you want to support. Finally, the victims of communism.org. Victims of I have it written down actually, but I don't even want to look at it. Victimsofcommunism.org. They have a museum. They're a big organization based in Washington, D.C. If you'd like to support them, you can also support them. Remember, no amount is too small. Even if you do $1 a year, it'll help add up. As long as we get support from the people who see the importance of it, and you are there to support us, like, we will continue to do all the work that is needed. And please join us again next year so that we can, if we all bring one more person, we'll double in size. And next year we probably won't have the one up the street and therefore won't have a helicopter background noise. We will have better music, right, Luigi? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you during the walk. Thank you.
Thank you.